Following months of turmoil characterized by criticism, public outrage, and internal strife, Disney has formally abandoned its troubled Snow White remake and is beginning anew. However, this goes beyond a simple reboot. It's a risky start, a last-ditch effort to save a legacy before it falls apart due to popular rejection. The Rachel Zegler starring version has gone from being a huge hit to a complete disaster. The film, which received a harsh 2/10 rating on IMDb and caused an identity crisis in the Magic Kingdom's corridors, has failed to live up to the expectations of its target demographic despite an incredible $300 million investment. Executives are currently witnessing a treasured fairy tale turn into a corporate nightmare after placing a large wager on a daring makeover. Insiders claim that CEO Bob Iger is completely in charge of the damage. His worries are rooted in the cultural upheaval encircling the movie itself, not just Zegler's criticism. During a recent private press conference, Disney executives were blunt. The reboot was referred to as a course correction, a clinical way of stating, "We blew it, and we need to clean up fast." Even critics who are usually receptive have started to turn away. Disney is in danger, and fans are no longer forgiving. When reliable media partners turn their backs on them and IMDb scores plummet, the business is now proposing something more realistic, a sincere return to traditional storytelling, a tribute to the 1937 original story. However, the goal of this new course is to rebuild trust, not merely revive an old story, re-establishing a connection with generations who, after discovering magic in Snow White's world, now feel cut off by its current state. Despite being promoted as a progressive, feminist retelling of the classic story, the Zegler-led movie sparked fury rather than praise. Important aspects of the original tale were eliminated, and in their place were decisions that many believed betrayed the essence of the timeless masterpiece. What was supposed to be inspirational but came out as a rejection of all that followers valued. When Zegler's interviews came to light, things became worse. Her frank comments, which criticized the romance as being out of date and called the prince irrelevant, went viral and fueled a fury on the internet. It seemed to longtime Disney fans that their beloved tale was being analyzed and thrown away in front of them. Disney didn't anticipate it, according to inside sources. The fallout was more severe than anticipated, and now that the damage has been done, the studio is in a race to win back the hearts it almost lost, as well as to develop a better film. Early test screenings may have raised some minor concerns, but Disney didn't fully realize the magnitude of the response until the official trailer was released. The internet suddenly came alive. In their condemnation, devoted fans, reviewers, and nostalgic audiences discovered a rare unanimity. They contended that the movie had strayed too far from the soul and charm that characterized Disney's heyday. Important components that contributed to the original Snow White's magic were eliminated. The well-known song "Someday My Prince Will Come" was dropped in favor of contemporary, self-empowering songs that many felt went against the tone of the fairy tale. The new songs were criticized for being forceful and clumsy, with social media exploding and analyzing every creative decision. Disney's public relations team was left frantically managing an ever-expanding PR disaster. Disney has recently revealed a brand new Snow White project that is expected to start filming in late 2025, in what appears to be a public course adjustment. However, this is a complete reboot rather than merely a follow-up or reinvention. A complete reset, an unmistakable statement to devoted fans. "We heard you." Disney has announced that this new rendition would largely draw from the 1937 classic's emotional resonance and visual wonder, even though casting specifics are still being kept under wraps. Favorite characters will be back. The same songs will be sung again. The fanciful, fairy tale vibe that was lacking in the previous attempt will be prominent. The stakes are extremely high, as evidenced by the release of a second adaptation so soon after the first one's failure. This is about preserving one of Disney's most cherished traditions before the harm is irreparable, not just about remaking a film. Disney appears to understand that Snow White is more than simply a title, it's a cornerstone, as it faces mounting pressure to defend its slate of live-action remakes, many of which have failed both critically and commercially. According to insiders, the new movie will largely follow the original plot with a few appropriate contemporary additions. According to one producer, the objective is to respectfully and gently give classic themes new life, rather than fix something that was never broken. Disney's upcoming Snow White reboot's tone marks a significant departure from the studio's first attempt, which was widely criticized for destroying the core elements of the cherished original. Disney has not disclosed any official information, although there are a lot of rumors circulating. According to insiders, the studio is searching for a main actress with classic Hollywood charm, someone who exudes warmth, charisma, and powerful voice. Disney also seems intent on avoiding the same mistakes that beset the previous movie. According to reports, the new production will enforce stricter media standards and make sure cast message remains in line with the film's ideas. In contrast to the last one, when off-screen disputes overshadowed the picture itself. However, the criticism of the previous adaptation extended beyond Rachel Zegler's public remarks. Peter Dinklage's public criticism of Disney's decision to cast a Latina, Snow White, while adhering to what he described as a regressive depiction of the seven dwarfs, sparked a commotion. Disney completely abandoned the dwarves in an effort to avoid the controversy, substituting them with fantastical computer-generated imagery. However, that action provoked a new round of indignation. Actors with dwarfism often felt marginalized. One performer remarked, "These are the roles we have. I'm not going out for George Clooney or Harrison Ford. This is also being taken now." Disney was forced to reflect deeply as a result of the aftermath. Tension between the company's marketing, creative, and public relations departments during the launch of Zegler's version was exposed via leaked internal memos. The outcome: a disjointed advertising effort that seemed unclear and out of place. Not only did that chaos harm the film's critical acclaim, but it also damaged the business's cash line. The previous Snow White reboot's merchandise was a complete bust. Only weeks after launch, prices were cut and shelves remained crowded. Internal reports claimed that Disney's consumer products sector had millions of unsold inventory, a financial setback that highlighted the gap between audience and product. Disney has hired a completely new creative staff in an attempt to change direction. It has been said that the new screenwriter focuses on character-centered, emotionally charged writing, which was sadly lacking in the previous iteration, although the director's name is still unknown. Insiders claim that they are a seasoned filmmaker with a solid foundation in both live-action and animation, as well as a storytelling style that appeals to audiences all over the world. The original fairy tale blueprint won't be much altered in this relaunch, but contemporary elements will inevitably be included. Loved woodland animals will make a comeback, this time represented by a state-of-the-art fusion of computer imagery and practical effects intended to produce a more captivating, realistic experience. By reinventing characters without provoking the same type of outrage that plagued previous redesigns, Disney is treading carefully. Music will also receive a lot of attention. Repaired oldies, like Someday My Prince Will Come, will coexist with brand new original tunes to provide a nostalgic yet modern musical experience. The most encouraging news, perhaps: the renowned animators and consultants who shaped Disney's heyday of storytelling are returning. Their presence is a promise to restore the emotional soul that people thought was vanishing, not just a symbol of artistic continuity. Disney has enlisted seasoned creative professionals to help reimagine one of its most famous stories by directing everything from tone and timing to the film's emotional core. According to reports, the company's leadership is consciously changing behind the scenes by rediscovering the creative foundations that once characterized Disney's enchantment. The project's initial official statement, which adopted an air of modesty, demonstrated this reinvigorated focus. The message emphasized a return to legacy and acknowledged past mistakes, although it did not identify anyone. According to the press release, "We recognize the importance of honoring the stories that helped shape Disney into what it is today. That legacy and our dedication to creating timeless stories for today's audience serve as the foundation for this new Snow White." Rachel Zegler, meanwhile, is conspicuously missing from the spotlight as the studio refocuses. When responses to her role in Snow White became so harsh, Zegler, who had previously been praised for her breakthrough performance in West Side Story, found herself at the center of a cultural tempest. Many viewers felt her remarks disregarded the cherished original, which is why her early interviews, which were meant to praise female empowerment, were harshly criticized. Zegler subsequently asserted that her remarks were inaccurate. Distancing, however, appeared inevitable at that point because the backlash had taken on a life of its own. Disney has not formally announced her dismissal, but according to sources, the company is keen to start over, both publicly and creatively. Zegler, on the other hand, has remained silent, which is consistent with Disney's tactic of refocusing attention on the plot rather than characters. Adding to the consequences, rumors circulating within the studio indicate that Zegler's version of the movie had its premiere subtly cancelled as the first reviews started to come in. One source admitted, To be honest, it felt like nobody showed up. The reviews on Rotten Tomatoes were harsh. The film's core simply didn't function, despite their best efforts to fix it. Furthermore, the harm was not only serious but also monetary and reputational. She may have torched hundreds of millions of intellectual property and, possibly, her own career. Along with the careers of those tied to the project, one expert told me bluntly, Disney reportedly assigned Zegler a dedicated media advisor in an attempt to control the impact and prevent any such public blunders. However, as tensions grew, even longtime Hollywood allies, some of whom had progressive views, started to quietly distance themselves. Now all that's left is a studio in damage control mode, attempting to win back the confidence of viewers. And a budding star realizing how easily Hollywood cheers can fade into silence. Disney quietly ended zegler appearances on all of its media platforms, according to insiders. A blatant indication that internal strife had reached a breaking point. It was yet another significant setback for a project already burdened by criticism and delays. However, in a surprising turn of events, fan networks experienced a brief surge of cautious joy at the formal announcement of the relaunch. Online, discussions are turning to themes of legacy and redemption, what it really means to go back and read a beloved tale like Snow White, though skepticism persists. Optimism is growing. One fan commented, "I just want the magic back. Give me the romance, the songs, the forest, and the animation style. If they get it right, I'll be there on opening night." Disney is counting on that kind of sentimental devotion, which can be converted into box office trust, thanks to nostalgia. The movie is expected to go into pre-production in late 2025 and be released in theaters in the spring of 2027. Marketing initiatives are already accelerating. A well-planned campaign to restore goodwill includes concept art, teaser audio samples, and behind-the-scenes glimpses. In an effort to reacquaint viewers with the character throughout the entire brand, talks are even in progress to bring back Snow White-themed attractions in Disney parks. It's still unclear if these initiatives will undo the harm caused by previous errors. However, this revival is not merely a reimagining of a classic. It's a full-fledged storyline of atonement for Snow White and the film company that made her. This is more than just a film. After all, Disney is making an effort to reclaim its position as the creator of the contemporary fairy tale. The world may be reminded why Snow White was not just the first full-length animated picture, but also the movie that started an empire. If this version is able to evoke strong emotions, Disney executives are said to be extremely keen on quality control behind closed doors. In order to combine the studio's classic appeal with its changing storytelling approach, every aspect, costume design, cinematography, casting, lighting, set pieces, and musical arrangements is closely examined. They appear to have discovered that consumers genuinely seek emotional honesty, which no amount of corporate planning can match. Only when the story feels familiar does the true enchantment, the kind that generations grew up with, occur. However, Disney has an uphill battle in the current media environment, where viewers are growing more leery of repurposed content. The challenge is to demonstrate that old stories still have something truthful and timely to offer, not just to repackage. Nostalgia. This revival has become much more than just a movie. It's a test to see if Disney can rekindle the passion that gave its name, its reputation for wonder. The families and devoted Disney supporters who have supported the company for almost a century are the ones who truly matter, even though experts will keep an eye on the stats. During early development discussions, a seasoned animator reportedly stated, "It's time to remember why people fell in love with Snow White in the first place, Wonder Heart. As a result of its honesty, the story is timeless. Disney would be better off hoping he's correct."